Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will call this meeting to order. In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we acknowledge the town of Edson is located on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral lands of the Niqawak, Saulteaux, Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and the Apitimiswak Métis Nations. We honor the knowledge of this land, the elders and youth which gather here, and our ancestors who have gathered here for centuries. Before we begin the meeting tonight, I'd like to make some comments I think are really important to mention. At this time, exactly 3 years ago, the town of Edson and portions of Yellowhead County were in the process of evacuating to Jasper and Hinton due to the threat of an out-of-control wildfire. This moment will forever impact those that lived here at that time. While we are so fortunate that we did not have the same outcome as our friends in Jasper who experienced that a year later, it still has an impact that we must recognize. Many may have feelings of uneasiness and anxiousness around the anniversary. That is a normal psychological response. As we reflect back, I continue to be proud of the resilience of our residents, our businesses, our staff, the firefighters, equipment operators, dispatchers, and all those that were involved in the response that night and the weeks that followed. We learned a lot from that experience. Today, the town of Edson as an organization is much better prepared, with staff throughout our organization trained in ICS 100, 200, and even 300. We have more robust emergency response plans, a wildfire mitigation plan, improved equipment, and enhanced mutual aid agreements with more agencies and municipalities. As this week is Emergency Preparedness Week, and we have a very high fire hazard in our region, I encourage all of our residents and all of our businesses to keep preparedness front of mind and ensure that you have a plan for you and your families in case a situation arises in the future, no matter the emergency. On behalf of Edson Town Council, we recognize our first responders and dispatchers for the work they do in keeping our community safe. Thank you for your service to our community. And with that, before I take a motion for an adoption of the agenda, CEO Beveridge would like to make a couple introductions this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am very pleased to introduce Hans van Claveren as our GM of Community and Protective Services. Hans brings extensive municipal experience with him, focused on recreation, community services, and building well-run inclusive programs for the facilities, as well as supporting quality of life. Hans has spent 14 years with the town of Hinton, and he's also held most recently the the General Manager of Community and Recreation Services at Drayton Valley. So Hans is known for his collaborative approach, practical leadership style, and commitment to continuous improvement, along with his ability to build strong relationships with our community. So we're very pleased to have Hans join our organization, and I understand that he's introduced himself to many of council this evening. So please join me in welcoming Hans.
Thank you.
In addition, I also have the pleasure of introducing our acting GM of Corporate Services for a brief time while our GM is away on paternity leave. Megan Oriette, I'm happy to introduce her. She's actually our HR manager with the town of Edson as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CEO Beveridge. With that, we'll take a motion for the adoption of the agenda, and we do have an addition this evening. So the motion is on the screen if somebody would like to make said motion. Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, I move that the agenda for the May 5th, 2026 regular council meeting of council be adopted with the addition of item K1, intergovernmental matters, ATA S26, disclosure of harmful to intergovernmental relations.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Can I get a motion, please, for the minutes of the April 21st, 2026 regular meeting of council? Go ahead, Councillor Wilson-Lear.
I move that the minutes of the April 21st, 2026 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented.
Any questions, comments, or concerns with said minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. We have no public hearings. We will move on to presentations and delegations, and we're fortunate to have Ms. Dawn Mitchell, the Executive Director of Moving Edson and Area, here this evening to provide her annual update. Come on up, Ms. Mitchell.
this already.
Yes. That's right. That's good.
You know, I'm never very good at this clicker thing. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for having us here tonight. This is one of our favorite nights of the year for Board and Council because it's our time to tell you exactly how we've held up our end of our agreement. We try really, really hard, and we're really proud of the work that we do. I really tried hard to keep the slides short, but they seem to keep growing every year, so I'll speed talk. Through. With your permission, I'll proceed.
Go ahead, Ms. Mitchell, you're on a clock, so.
So again, thank you very much. Your $125,000 annual investment is the cornerstone of accessible transportation in Edson. We, as you know, have been operating for over 40 years. We are a registered Canadian charity in good standing, and we're quite proud of that. A few years ago, we chose to rebrand from Edson Seniors Transportation Society to Moving Edson and Area, as many of you know, which sounds more inclusive, which is what the board, that was their direction. So we provide safe, dignified, wheelchair-accessible transportation for seniors and residents in Edson living with mobility and/or cognitive challenges so that they can age in place, attend medical care, and stay connected to the community that they live in. So Edson is aging faster than any provincial average, than the provincial average, and many older adults live alone in homes without family nearby. There is no public transit, and without accessible service, residents face missed medical appointments, lost independence, and increased isolation. We are that bridge that keeps residents safely connected to healthcare, groceries, friends, and their community. 2025 was exciting. Every year I'm shocked by the time we get to the end of the year. We did 11,100 one-way trips. We drove equivalent to 1.4 trips around the earth, which was kind of cool. So we are open every single day except for statutory holidays. And it averages out to about 30 trips a day, which is a lot. Demand is growing. So again, our trips have more than doubled since 2023. 2023 was 5,079, and last year, again, we were at 11,100 trips. So that's 118% growth, which is astounding to me. We have three major transportation programs. The first one, of course, that most people know about is our in-town ridership. So that's our wheelchair and lift accessible rides within Edson, door-through-door service, which is really, really important for everybody to note, and it's 7 days per week. We have the NET program, which is our non-emergent medical transportation, and that takes residents who might not have another way to get to their medical appointments to Hinton, Whitecourt, Mayerthorpe, Edmonton, kind of anywhere in the region. As always with us, companions for support that are needed for support, they ride for free. Charters, that is another one of our transportation services, and that's for group events and community bookings. And we do have, I'm excited to say, within probably about 2 to 3 weeks, we will have our minivans coming. We have 2 minivans on order. So our fleet will be complete then. We will have 2 minivans, 2 mid-size vans, and 2 big accessible buses. So how to ride with us. Again, it's really trying to keep things easy, not daunting. And so who qualifies for our in-town rides? Well, it's Edson residents 55 and older, Edson residents 54 and under, living with mobility and or cognitive challenges. Again, as I said before, support persons ride at no cost. And our hours of operation are 7 days a week, save statutory holidays. So who rides with us? So I am always surprised by this. Our riders, 70% of our riders are seniors aged 55 and over, but you'll notice that 31% have cane, walkers, and wheelchairs. 48% are ambulatory. Motorized chairs takes up 1%, and the others are, fractions of that. But I'm really proud to say that our residents are aging well. 48% are okay, right, to walk ambulatory. Every trip that we take as a connection to dignity, care, and daily life. Our top 5 destinations every single year continue to account for 550 trips. Every one of them is either a medical visit, a chance to stay independent, or a connection home. So those, again, continue to be the top 5 destinations. So a day in the life. We have a resident that's in her early 80s. She lives independently in her home. She doesn't drive anymore, and her family doesn't live here. 3 mornings a week, our bus picks her up at her front door and takes her to the Edson Healthcare Center. Twice a month, that same bus takes her to the Friendship Center or to the Pioneer Cabin for lunch with friends. And on Saturdays, it takes her to the grocery store. Without that bus, she doesn't go to her appointments. Without those appointments, she doesn't get to stay in her home. And that's the story behind our ridership numbers, and it's repeated in different versions every single day. So I'm really excited to announce this because this is the first time that we get to talk about it publicly. So last year we wrote a grant and got it. And it is regarding food security for aging well. So hidden food insecurity is real for older adults in Edson, well, across the region, across Alberta, across Canada. Nourish is our response, and it's a 3-tier choice-based food security model that adapts to changing needs and supports dignity, independence, and aging in place. So there'll be 3 different kinds of supports offered. So that's ready-to-eat meals, fresh or frozen meals prepared in our AHS certified commercial kitchen. Thank you very much. Guided meal kits, similar to like a HelloFresh almost, but smaller portions, so that you don't need to waste a whole head of cauliflower for 1 or 2 older adults, right? And those pre-portioned ingredients with senior-friendly recipes will be designed, again, for the 1 or 2 servings. Supported grocery access, so that's one thing that is really a challenge because older adults often need help with grocery ordering, pickup, delivery, and carrying in those really, really heavy bags. So we're really excited to roll that out. I am in the process of rating all the hundreds of documents that go with it to try to make sure that we roll it out properly, but that should be up and running, I'm hoping, by the end of summer. So also new in 2026, you remember that last year we did Safe Seniors, like cybersecurity, all that kind of good stuff that talked about fraud, scams, all that. We're building on that this year with another grant. So we tackled financial abuse last year. This year we're going to try and take on self-defense, right? So that's what our participants asked for. They asked for physical self-defense training that was built specifically for them. So that's going to be adapted self-defense techniques, situational awareness, how to de-escalate a situation. We will speak again to scam preventions and create that community connection that is that group-based learning that reduces isolation and builds peer support. So it's really that connecting and speaking about, well, this kind of makes me fearful. And then there's a group that says, yeah, kind of makes me fearful too. So another thing that is quite exciting for 2026 is we are moving to digital marketing. So on our big, shiny, fancy new buses, we have these wraps. Well, when we advertised, our advertisers prior, we would put stickers on the outside of the bus, and it was a moving billboard, and it was fantastic. Well, it's kind of difficult to get these stickers on the outside of buses with full wraps on them, right? So we needed to come up with a way to, again, show appreciation for our sponsors because we truly couldn't do it without them. And to make sure that, again, that they were getting the recognition that they deserved, but that we were able to just do what we needed to do properly for them. That said, digital messaging, I have learned a lot about this that I never cared to learn prior to this. But anyways, digital messaging, on our vehicles and community-facing platforms. I will also get better at Facebook. So local messages reaching Edson residents in real time, whether they're at appointments, running errands, and connecting with neighbors. So we can advertise community events, live time. We can advertise businesses and their websites, and we can talk about celebrations. So if you have a birthday that you want to say, shout out to grandma or, nephew that, hey, happy birthday. Well, that can flash across our digital screen, and it's just kind of fun and happy. There's also the ability for us to do PSAs, right? Those are super important, and maybe that's like a weather closure, a road closure. That's something important that you guys need to push out. It can also be things like the Renaissance Fair, right? You guys want to say, hey, the Renaissance Fair is coming up. Great. We can advertise that for you live time. So we're pretty excited about that. I would be remiss if I didn't speak about Healthy Aging Alberta. Now, they're amazing partners. They just believe in us all the time, and we work really, really hard not to let them, down and to make them proud. So they have allowed us to do our NET program, extended evening hours, so we can support our dialysis clients 3 days a week. Weekend service, they support that, and Nourish, which is a brand new thing. Food supports is a brand new revenue strain. So again, we're part of this pilot, which is, why there's a little bit of added pressure. There's no wheel to reinvent because there is no wheel, right? So, but we're gonna kick it out of the park. So fleet renewal. So the capital investment last year that we made in vehicles was $316,000. The capital budgeted for this year's $450,000, and IT and dispatch upgrades in 2025 were $103,000. I need to thank you once again for your contribution of a capital of the bus to moving Edson of $300,000. That vehicle will last us, hopefully 15 years if we really take care of them. We do baby our vehicles. There is no safety issue that goes unchecked. We don't skimp on any of that stuff. We transport vulnerable clients. Our drivers are important to us, and we just take care of everything. So thank you guys once again. We also really implemented a really robust safety program. So we did 2 full-scale emergency drills last year. And we were evaluated by McStrong Safety Services, and it led to the creation of our emergency response plan binder, GPS monitored fleet, and monthly safety meeting cadence. Mock drill evaluations by Doug Dersch, who's a retired RCMP senior security officer at McStrong Safety Services, has since joined the Moving Edson directors team and is just a really great complement to it. Our drivers and staff, okay, they just make me smile. Because I say they're the best of the best all the time, but I really do mean it. They're just amazing humans who lead with their heart, right? They're just amazing. So they all have their vulnerable record checks, their criminal record checks, CPR, first aid, AED trained. We have monthly safety meetings, which I will say that they never once complain about. They really engage. They really like the safety meetings, which is kind of nice to see. Our little team of just 2, who was Miss Tracy Bonus and myself a couple of years ago, has now grown to 9, almost 10 people. So we really have grown. Now I get to talk about our board of directors. So our chair is Miss Christy Gamoka, and she's been our chair for quite some time before I came. She's just strong and steady, and she's really, really good. I'm not going to use your formal title. Greg Positioney is our vice chair. He volunteers on this board and he's just a wealth of knowledge, and he's fantastic, and he never lets me get away with anything. Marcia Jensen, she has been on the board for a number of years, and she is just really, really good. She's always positive, she's just great. The newest addition is Councillor Corey Wilson-Laird. Now, I'm really appreciating her. She's a really strong leader on the board, and she's really engaged. She really thinks she brings the tough questions, and yet she really is hearing you. So I just thank you very much for being a part of the team. I appreciate it. Isla Miller, she brings a nursing background. She is full of fundraising ideas, and she's just always positive, always happy. Director Trevor Bevan, he's just a constant. He has been there since before I was there, so he has a lot of history, has a lot of knowledge, and he's very good. And again, Doug Dersch, who is the newest addition as a director, and he brings that safety mindset to it. So what I really appreciate about the board of directors, who last year put in 132 hours of volunteer time, is that the board of directors that we have around the table come from very, very different backgrounds, which means that they bring really, really good viewpoints, and they really hold me to task. And our board sits up here like they expect high quality work. They expect a lot, and I love that. So I just had to say that board of directors is awesome. So this is probably my favorite slide. So how we close the gap every day. Each ride that we give, it costs $4 to $8, right? $4 to $6. So it costs us about $110 per hour to run. And council, with their grant funding of $125,000 per year, you guys close that gap, and that means a lot. It is why we operate. So the Town of Edson Operations grant accounts for 36% of our revenue. I should put my glasses on. 35% of our revenue comes from charters and bus passes. Federal grants and provincial grants is about 14%, and 15% comes from donations and other revenues. So you can see how important that is to us. So I just, you guys are amazing, and our corporate sponsors, I'll speak a little bit about that, I think, in the next slide. But thank you again. You really closed that gap for us. At $4 to $6 per one-way trip, you can see how we used to have one bus on the road, now we have 3, right? So the gap grows every single year, but yet we're busier every year. We service that many more people, that many more Edson residents. I explained earlier that, Edson is aging faster than it's above the norm, right? Anyways, I could go on that forever, but I will. I don't want to get the cane, so I'm going to keep going. Funding partners, Government of Canada, Government of Alberta, Healthy Aging Alberta, Canadian Red Cross, and the Town of Edson. Our corporate sponsors and community partners, they're amazing. It doesn't matter how much we grow, how much more we ask of them, they just keep giving. And they are community partners, stay with us for years and years and years. They really believe in what we're doing, and we're really proud to have them. So Bannister Ford and Bannister Chev, Buick GMC, Crystal Glass, Fortis Alberta, the Edson Pharmacy, Canadian Tire Edson, Wilden Services Limited, the Royal Canadian Legion, Lions Club of Edson is amazing, Secure Waste Management, and U Auto Wash. They're amazing. We get more vehicles, and they continue to wash our vehicles. Like, they're awesome. So how to get involved? There's 5 ways. You can ride. You can become a member. You can ride. You can donate at CanadaHelps.org. We have a really secure site there through CanadaHelps.org, and it's amazing. You can sponsor. You can become a partner. You can advertise on our digital displays, which will then also show up on our website. When you click on our website, your logo will link right to your website page. And I will get better at Facebook. Charters. You can book a charter, private or corporate. And those, the different sizes of vehicles depends on how much the charter costs, but we really like flat rates. I made it. Thank you guys very, very much. If you have any questions or concerns, I'd be really happy to answer them.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell, for your presentation. Council will open the floor to questions to our presenter this evening. We will start with Councillor Wilson-Lear.
Through the mayor to our presenter, Ms. Mitchell, thank you so much. This is more just comments and a question. I just first want to say thank you so much for your, and I can say this to you, your hustle and your constant boots on the ground and your amazing grant researching and writing abilities for planning for now and in the future. With your team and your drivers and the board. This is such an important and critical service for the town of Edson, and as you know, it's very close to my heart as well in terms of aging in place and our senior population numbers. I just wanted to ask in relation to the charters and digital marketing and the new programs, including the Nourish and Empowering Seniors, and I know you've commented about Facebook and those kinds of things, but just if you can touch a little bit on how you're pushing that out to the community in terms of all those programs. Is it mostly through social media and that kind of thing, and also initiatives that you've started in terms of fundraising, if you're able to speak of any of those tonight?
Sure.
Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor Wilson-Lear. So thank you for that question. That was a really good question. So media, how we push out information. So we do posters, we do Facebook for all the initiatives coming out this year. We'll do posters, we'll do Facebook, we'll do radio, we'll do our website, rack cards, anything we can think of to get the noise out there. On our digital marketing boards, that'll spin on there too, right? So that I think that's a good way. And again, it's just trying to capture absolutely everybody, going to our community support agencies. I was just in an interagency meeting today that was put on by the town of Edson. And I mean, it's a really great group of people that just really want to help and support one another, and we all kind of do the same work. So that's how we'll do that. As far as you'd asked about initiatives, marketing, talking about fundraising. We are going to, this is another big surprise that wasn't in the slideshow. So we're going to do the Grand Parade. So coming up this fall, I think it's September 19th, correct me if I'm wrong. And I'm really, really excited. So it's the first time it will be done in Edson, and it is a walk for seniors, and it is a celebration, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that we roll out with that, and a lot of fun. And we're really hoping to make this a really great fundraiser, and I hope it's a great day. So more to come on that. So we certainly will be pushing that out and asking for help with that.
Go ahead, Councillor Wilson-Lear.
Thank you through the mayor to Ms. Mitchell. Sorry if I blew that up a little bit, but I wanted to mention that just a little bit that I've heard about it in the training that I was able to sit in on the other day with the organization is just that I had mentioned that it was going to be very successful because we have a Dawn. So thank you again for your for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Councillor Holden.
Through the mayor to Ms. Mitchell, just more of a comment. I just really like to thank you and the board and the whole Moving Edson family for providing this valuable service. I have a family member that's already using this service. These upcoming programs, the Nourish program, empowering seniors, I think this is just a movement forward again, and that's hence the name Moving Edson. But just one question. Is your funding, other than the town grant, tied to memberships or bus pass numbers? Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor Holden. Yes, so we do have membership. So if you're an in-town rider, there's kind of, if you're welcome to ride in town if you're a non-member, and then it costs $6 per one-way trip. If you would like to buy a membership, it's $30 per fiscal year, and that entitles you to ride at $4 per one-way trip. So most of our riders do that, use that. As for membership for the NET program, so again, we try to make it really, really easy, and it's not overwhelming. So most of our clients come into the office to fill out the application paperwork with me, and it only takes about 10 to 15 minutes. It's a coffee, a tea, and I do the paperwork for them. We all know that things can get overwhelming when it comes to paperwork, right? And so we really try to simplify that. That membership is free, to answer your question. And so once that's out of the way, I should also say that if a senior 65 and up is coming down to the office to fill out their NET application, that ride is for free. So we don't charge the client to come down and fill out the application. We want to make it as safe and supportive as possible. So I hope I answered that question correctly.
Go ahead, Councillor Holden.
Through the chair to Ms. Mitchell. Yes, that was partial of it. I was just wondering about the funding from like the federal and the provincial governments. Do they base their funding model to you based on memberships?
Through the chair to Councillor Holden, no, they do not.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to Ms. Mitchell, you asked if we had any concerns or questions. I have no concerns. Like, there's just nothing but praise. I've been hearing these presentations since I was first elected, and just the stats you show of the number of users you have and it steadily increasing is just so impressive. And again, hats off to yourself, the board, for all their work and building it to 6 vehicles now. That's truly, truly impressive and totally aligns with our soon-to-be strat plan that's coming up later tonight to building a connected, welcoming community. And you and your organization are instrumental in that. So, question just on the Nourish program, which I think is a fantastic initiative to start. There are a few organizations that do have like some Meals on Wheels sort of programs. How are you going to collaborate with these different organizations and ensuring that we can maximize the services we provide to our community?
Through the chair to Councillor Taylor. Thank you so much for the question. That's so tricky for me, right? Okay, so again, I was just in an interagency meeting today. One of the things that Moving Edson that we really, really push is collaboration. We don't want to duplicate services. We don't want to step on anybody's toes. And one of the things that you will hear repeatedly throughout the region is that Edson and Area is really good at collaborating. Okay, so the agencies around here really talk. We get calls all the time that say, hey, do you offer this service? We say no, and we don't hang up. We say, no, but I know who does. Or, hey, let me make some calls and we'll get back to you, right? We do it all the time, and that is the rule in the office. But again, that's not secular. That's not just our office. That is a common thing in Edson. So to answer your question directly, we will make sure to reach out to every group that is offering food supports, because perhaps we can help support them with transportation. Maybe they're having struggles finding ways to get their food to individuals, right? And they're really great. You don't want to step on anybody's toes, and you just want to collaborate. You want to make things better. The whole idea is to reach as many people as you can, right? If we all work together for a common good with a common purpose, I just think one group, a group of individuals might be connected more to one group, right? We might attract a different kind of group. So if we all work together, we're attracting that many more people. And so absolutely there will be collaboration and conversation and hopefully lots of smiles. Thank you.
Council, any further questions, comments, concerns for a presenter this evening? Councillor Schramm.
Yeah, through the chair to our presenter, not so much a question, but more of a comment. It's just so great to see how much this organization has evolved from the Edson Seniors Transport to Move Edson. The new initiatives that you presented tonight, super excited for the community. I think they're a great addition. And it's just so much more new initiatives, again, for our seniors and for those who have those mobility challenges. I can't say enough of how excited I am and really looking forward to your success in these initiatives. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
So for me, Ms. Mitchell, when I look back at time, when I go back 5, 6, 7 years ago, the feedback that I had was we love ESTS, but there were gaps in the services. There was gaps in our seniors population not being able to get to their medical appointments in the city, not having availability to go to church and use the bus on the weekends because it was a very shoestring budget. Ran all by volunteers who did tremendous work, and the community has grown. Our seniors population has grown, and the needs have changed over the years. To see the progression over that period of time to the new board and to where we are today has been absolutely phenomenal and absolutely fantastic. I think one of the concerns I always have, and I came to your board meeting, I think it was last year, is sustainability, right? Because Too often with non-for-profits, we're always relying on grants or different programs that come out. We're chasing grants. So it's always a challenge because we don't want to remove services. We want to build on them, but we also have to be sustainable. And I loved your comment earlier. We're maintaining our buses. We got to make sure that you can't skip out on that kind of stuff because you're going to pay for it down the road. So when you look at sustainability and your board looks at sustainability, what is your plan for, because now we have 6 buses, and this impacts the town of Edson. What's your capital plan? What's your operational plan, say, for the next 5 years? So we as a council know what we should be budgeting for to ensure that your organization remains sustainable, that provides that service. We talk about it around this table all the time. If the municipality runs that service, it's going to cost us a lot more, and that's not an area we want to be in. So we want to make sure you're successful, but also ensuring that we're sustainable and that there is, you have raised your fees, you have increased the amount of charters in order to generate some revenue. So any comments that you have on that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate your comments, and every year I come here and say, we just try, and I promise you we are turning over every rock we can. We are doing our very, very best to ensure that we stabilize. So we had a period of, where the buses were fantastic, but they were aging, they needed to be replaced, right? So there's that growth period, there's kind of that pain period. And there's the pain period of growing so fast that now we got to try and get our finances to catch up and stabilize. So we are exploring every kind of avenue possible to try and stabilize that revenue and increase it, because it'll keep you up at night worrying about can you not worry for the next 6 months, right? And I really hope that we'll get there someday. I don't have this wonderful answer for you other than to say that we are trying operational grants as first and foremost, and revenue, stable revenue is first and foremost on the plate this year.
Okay, thank you very much for that. My second question is, you mentioned the upgrading of the fleet, 6 new units. So where do the funding for those units come from? Because I know we have some new members of council here that may not understand the progression of where we went from 2 very old buses during the emergencies, including a bus that some members around this table took for an event that really gave us an eye-opening experience, to where we are today. How did you come across those buses? Who funded them? And how was that process for you?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I know you'd said in your earlier question, we need to upkeep those buses for the next 5 years. How are we going to stabilize that? That is part of the plan to make sure that we can replace them as needed. So here's a breakdown of how the buses came in. So one of the big buses was a grant from the town of Edson. That was $300,000. The other bus unit, so if I say units, forgive me, but one of the other big buses came from a joint venture, a joint grant between the Government of Alberta and the Canadian Red Cross. The Canadian Red Cross also funded a mid-sized van and a minivan. And we applied for a grant through Rural Transit Solution Funds, and that got us the other minivan.
Excellent. And that was largely through the work through the wildfires, correct?
Correct, yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you for all your hard work. I did speak to some seniors that were utilizing the new buses shortly after, and I know they were very happy to have a much more comfortable ride. So thank you very much, Ms. Mitchell. You're free to stay if you like, but we understand too if you want to enjoy the nice sunshine outside.
You know what? We have a mock emergency safety drill on Friday, so I'm going to go back to the office and work on that. So thank you again, Council. I look forward to seeing you again next year. And honestly, if there's anything that we can do to improve, please let us know.
Thank you, Ms. Mitchell. All right, we're going to move on to the reading of bylaws. First reading of bylaw number 2332 to amend Schedule A of Land Use Bylaw number 2296, presented by Ms. Julia Darling, our Development Officer, and Kyle Miller, Project Planner with Scheffler Andrew Limited. Welcome, Ms. Darling.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Kyle's going to hop on and lead the charge on our presentation. There he is.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm just going to bring up our screen. And just before we get going, is it full screen for everybody? Is
Yeah,
it showing
it's good.
as it should be?
That's good,
Perfect.
Kyle. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Today we are presenting proposed bylaw 2332, which is the second annual omnibus amendment to the Town of Edson land use bylaw. These amendments are intended to continue to refine the land use bylaw based on its day-to-day use, correct errors or omissions, respond to unintended outcomes, and improve clarity for applicants, administration, and the public. Council adopted land use bylaw 2296 in June 2024, following a comprehensive review and public consultation process. The first round of omnibus amendments were adopted by Council in 2025, and the second round of proposed amendments continues the approach of making practical refinements to the land use bylaw as issues are identified through implementation, as development pressures change, and as administration seeks to balance development rights for landowners. Overall, the proposed amendments are administrative and operational in nature generally. They are not intended to change the overall policy direction in the land use bylaw or the overall regulatory framework, but are intended to make the bylaw clearer, easier to administer, and more responsive to local development constraints and pressures. Administration presented the proposed amendments to the Committee of the Whole earlier this year in April 2026. That was April 14th. Committee feedback at that time focused on the language and definition surrounding the supportive housing terminology, proposed regulations for hedges, window sign requirements, and the need to ensure that existing community facilities are properly reflected in the land use bylaw. Since that discussion and conversation, administration has refined the proposed amendments to better distinguish the land use definitions from from provincial and federal program terminology, revise accessory use regulations, protect established hedges where appropriate, and clarify how those hedges are identified, reduce unnecessary regulations for signs, and make some changes to supportive living facility minor adding supportive living facility minor as a discretionary use in the public service district. As I said at the Committee of the Whole meeting, the definition section, in my opinion, is the most important part of any land use bylaw. The definitions clarify and distinguish each land use from its day-to-day definition, identify when a development permit is required, specify what land use district a use may be located in, and whether a proposed development is permitted, discretionary, or non-conforming. Clear definitions also help the development authority apply the bylaw consistently. They give applicants, residents, administration, and appeal bodies a common starting point for interpreting what a proposed development actually is. Where definitions are unclear, overlapping, or inconsistent, there's greater risk of confusion, inconsistent decisions, enforcement difficulty, and unnecessary appeals. Several proposed definition amendments are being suggested tonight, and these are to address issues identified through day-to-day administration of the land use bylaw. These include change of use, discontinued use, commercial school, modular home, foundation, hedge, fence, industry, parking lot, retail uses, parcel of land, and the new supportive living categories. I think the most significant change in our definitions is the replacement of the existing supportive housing definitions with two more precise land uses, supportive living facility minor and supportive living facility major. This distinction is intended to separate municipal land use regulation from provincial or federal funding and program terminology. In other words, the land use bylaw definitions continue to regulate the use of land and potential impacts of that land use. It is not regulating the personal characteristics of residents or program users. Supportive living facility minor is intended to capture residential style supportive living, such as facilities providing accommodation and care, guidance, or supervision. Supportive living facility major is intended to capture more intensive facilities that may include daytime drop-in services, kitchens, showers, amenity areas, laundry support services, and temporary emergency overnight accommodation. I would like to draw council's attention to one drafting issue that we identified when preparing for this afternoon's meeting. The current draft bylaw deletes the existing definition of supportive housing, but the replacement definitions are still titled supportive housing major and supportive housing minor. That is inconsistent with administration's intent and the revised regulations proposed that pertain to supportive living facilities, all of which refer to supportive living facility major and supportive living facility minor. Administration recommends that the draft bylaw be amended prior to first reading to correct this inconsistency, so that the new definitions are listed as supportive living facility major and minor, and that that makes them the definitions consistent with the updated regulations. Those definitions are 2N and 2O in the amending bylaw, and that will make sure all the correct terminology is being used consistently throughout the proposed, the revised and updated land use bylaw. Within the central business district, there are proposed amendments intended to reduce red tape and support business activity downtown. Proposed amendments result in a change of use from one permitted use to another permitted use in the central business district, no longer requiring a development permit, provided that all applicable land use bylaw regulations are met, and make some changes to parking regulations. Next slide. Proposed amendments also clarify some notice requirements for development permit decisions. Permitted use approvals continue to be posted publicly, and discretionary uses must also be posted publicly, but require additional notice to nearby property owners or newspaper owners, notice in the newspaper reflecting appeal rights that apply to those decisions. This was an amendment that arose as a result of some lack of consistency with the ability to mail notify residents of decisions over the last couple of years due to Canada Post operations. Section 8 includes several practical amendments, and these pertain primarily to accessory building regulations in residential districts. We did discuss one of these proposed amendments at the Committee of the Whole, and as we were further reviewing the accessory building regulations, there was an additional regulation that we wanted to bring forward for Council's consideration. And that is that the maximum area for accessory buildings in urban residential districts be revised to allow the accessory buildings cover up to 15% of a lot area, up to 10% of a lot area, to a maximum of 225 square meters, with additional controls for larger accessory buildings. And this replaces regulations that currently restrict the site coverage of accessory buildings to 15% of a lot building or 100 square meters. So there's a little bit of a change that we've proposed there. And then the accessory building height is being proposed to increase to 7.6 meters in residential districts, which better accommodates typical garage construction in 2026. Other amendments in Section 8 clarify the review criteria that the Development Authority would consider when reviewing an application for a supportive living facility, simplifies home business regulations, allows home businesses in secondary suites, regulates side yard projections, and supports the town's housing strategy by allowing additional secondary suites per parcel and the maximum number of sleeping units in a secondary suite. Section 9, there are some amendments in Section 9, and these primarily relate to requirement for downtown parking requirements and are intended to support downtown reinvestment by confirming that renovations, site improvements, architectural changes, and changes of use in the existing central business district generally do not trigger additional parking requirements. If an existing building is structurally expanded, parking requirements may be required only for the expansion area at the discretion of the development authority. And then the table requiring identifies the number of parking stalls required for each use in the land use bylaw has been updated to reflect the supportive living facility land uses. And there's been a proposed amendment to correct a typographical error that did not identify a separation distance for drive-through queuing areas from residential parcels. With respect to signage, the amendments remove some conflicting and restrictive window sign regulations. The current land use bylaw contains inconsistent limits on window sign coverage, and committee direction was that the number and size of window signs would no longer be regulated. So we have proposed to delete those requirements. And this change is intended to be more business friendly while removing unnecessary permit and requirements for window signs. There's also a proposed deletion for a duplicate regulation of government traffic control signs. The last one, section 9, or yes, section 11, sorry. Again, as I said at our committee of the whole meeting, if the definition section is the most important part of the land use bylaw, the district section is the second most. And just to reiterate it here, the difference between permitted and discretionary uses while council is considering the proposed amendment. Permitted use is a use that the land use bylaw and council has determined is appropriate in that district, where an application for permitted use that satisfies the requirements of the land use bylaw is received, the applicant is generally entitled to receive a development permit. Discretionary uses are different. A discretionary use may be appropriate in a particular district, but requires a case-by-case review by the development authority, allowing the development authority to consider such matters as adjacent land uses, traffic generation, site design, neighborhood character, compatibility with surrounding development, and what conditions are required to address potential impacts. There's also a significant difference in appeal rights between permitted and discretionary uses. Permitted uses, there is generally no appeal right unless the applicant or the appellant argues that the development authority has erred in their interpretation of the land use bylaw. And anybody who claims to be affected by a decision of the development authority for discretionary use may appeal that decision. So I think those are pretty significant distinctions to remember as we talk about the proposed changes to the permitted and discretionary uses. The district amendments update the lists of permitted and discretionary uses. Generally, we are seeing the primary changes in central business, C1, C2, C3, BI1 and BI2 districts. We're trying to add flexibility for commercial and industrial development by moving some uses from discretionary to permitted and adding new discretionary uses where appropriate, allowing a wider range of business opportunities in those districts. The other amendments that we're proposing propose to move lower impact or generally compatible uses into the permitted use category, which helps reduce unnecessary process and allows residents to obtain development permits in a more expedient manner. The proposed amendments also update the definitions for supportive living facility minor, which is being proposed as a discretionary use in the R2, R3, and PS districts. Supportive housing is currently a discretionary use in the R2 and the R3 districts. So the only change there is the change of what the land use is defined as. Within the PS district, this change is being proposed to accommodate an existing supportive living facility minor that exists in the PS district. And so as a result, we're proposing to add the land use definition to that district. And then finally, we're proposing to add supportive living facility major as a discretionary use to the C2 district, which would allow the development authority to consider that use as if somebody submitted a development permit application in that district. In summary, bylaw 2332 is intended to clarify existing regulations, provide better tools for the development authority, reduce red tape and unnecessary process, support business activity, and advance the town's housing objectives. As a result, administration recommends that council give first reading to bylaw 2332 as amended. And if first reading is ultimately given by council tonight, proposed bylaw will proceed to a public hearing scheduled for May 19th. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miller, for your presentation this evening. And just a point of clarification, so the motion you will be looking for later on is that council give first reading to bylaw number 2332 as amended?
That is correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. With that, council, any questions, comments, or concerns? Go ahead, Ms. Holden, Mr. Holden, Councillor Holden.
Through the mayor to our presenters, it was a big report to read through, so one question on amendment number 4, it's a definition of a modular home. It was one that kind of stuck to me. A modular home is considered to be built elsewhere and transported to the site. A common practice these days is now to build it on grade at grade on slab. And this definition actually tells us it must be on a foundation below frost line. So that would eliminate anybody building a 2 or 3 story house above grade on a slab. I'm just wondering if that is just if I'm interpreting that wrong or not. It's just the high cost of building when you're building a 8-foot basement underneath a $600,000, $700,000 home. It adds $200,000 or $300,000 to it. So I just wanted to know if that was a clarification needed.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor. And to Councillor Holden through the mayor, the definition does say shall typically extend below the frost line. So in my opinion, that would not necessarily require it to extend below the frost line.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Miller. Are we comfortable with that language? Because it's shall. It's not a must, it's a shall.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, thank you. Council, any other further questions or comments before we take a motion? I don't see any, so we'll hand things over to Ms. Williams. I think you were queued up there. We do have a motion on the screen. Who would like to make that motion? Councillor Taylor?
I move that council amend bylaw number 2332 by replacing supportive housing major with supportive living facility major and supportive housing minor with supportive living facility minor.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns with that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, and that motion is carried. And now the motion is that council give first reading to bylaw number 2332 as amended. Who would like to make that motion? Go ahead, Councillor Pisetchny.
Yeah, I move that council give first reading to bylaw number 2332 as amended.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Thank you, Ms. Darling and Mr. Miller, for making the modifications from the last meeting. With that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. No.
Thank you. Have a good night.
We are going to move on to Ms. McDonald. But before we do, I'm just going to call a 5-minute recess. All right, we'll resume this meeting at 8:03. Thanks for your patience. We will move on to Ms. McDonald, our Chief Financial Officer, to speak about mill rate bylaw number 2334. Go ahead, Ms. McDonald.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before you tonight is the mill rate bylaw. If you remember the budget calendar, we had the whole process. This is now getting us to the end of that budget process where now we're actually creating the mill rate bylaw to prepare our taxes for May 15th. So just a little educational background on our bylaws. It's prepared in accordance with the Municipal Government Act, and it sets out the 2026 municipal and requisition tax rates. Council did approve the 26 operating and capital budgets on November 18th in the fall last year, and we made a number of amendments up until April 7th, including adjustments for carry forward of capital and operating projects, which were approved March 3rd. So just a summary of the numbers, our operating revenue that excludes property taxes, so that's revenue, grants, user fees, all our revenues outside of property taxation, we have $28,309,493. The operating expenses include $43,317,751, and our capital revenue and expenses are sitting in, which include the carry forwards of $70,593,944, with the major component of that being the YCE capital project. The balance required to balance the budget includes $15,008,258 for municipal tax requirement. So just reintroducing that assessment summary includes a residential and non-residential that was prepared by our designated assessor. We also have designated industrial assessment and a linear assessment prepared by the province of provincial government. So to pull this together from our presentations earlier in March from the assessors, you can see our 2025 assessment and our 2026 assessment. So residential and farmland has actually decreased slightly by 1.7%. Our non-residential has increased 1.6%. Our linear, which is designated is from the province assessment, our linear assessment has increased 7%, and machinery and equipment, which falls into the designated industrial assessment, it has increased 37.1%. So our overall taxable assessment, which we apply against our mill rates here, has increased 1.2% overall. Our exemptions have also increased 1.9%. Requisition summary. So just a table to give a comparison of the 25 requisitions compared to 2026 requisitions. Education as a whole increased 10%. You can see that Alberta School Fund Foundation, ASFF, that's the public schools, has increased 11%. Living Waters Catholic Regional Division 42 has increased just under 1%. If I was to add decimal places in there, the public school is 10.8 and Living Waters is 0.4. When we look at Evergreens Foundation, it's actually decreased by $18,000, minus 2% decrease. Designated industrial properties is, even though it's a small requisition, that requisition applies to all assessment prepared by the designated industrial assessor and applies against those properties. They pay for their own assessment preparation. And it is, even though there it says it's an increase of 22%, what we will end up paying them due to changes, adjustments throughout the year, we will pay them a little bit less. That got carried forward. Their process is just a little different than the school requisitions. Overall, our total requisitions have increased 8% over the 25 to 26 year. When we look at the tax impact, so again, we're comparing 2025 property values. The first column is $250,000 assessed home. The middle column is a $350,000 assessed home and a higher end $450,000 assessed home. Applied against the mill rate in order, starting with municipal at the top, education in the middle, and evergreens on the bottom, for a total residential assessment in 2025 was 10.1816. When we compare to what we're bringing forward for 2026, it's increased to 10.4225. So that's an overall increase to the mill rate of 2.4%. So what does that mean for the property owners? Is that per month, a $250,000 home will pay $5.02 more than last year. A 350 property will increase $7.03 more, and a $450,000 home would be approximately 9.03 increase per month. So just to explain here what the difference is. So back in November 18th of 2025, Council increased the tax dollars for municipal purposes approximately 15 million. At that time, it is best practice for the municipality to look at the requisitions and hold them constant so that we're only looking at the municipal portion and determining what our municipal needs are. That was 15 million. That number has not changed. That 15 million in comparison to 2025 is 2.7% increase. However, when we look at the mill rates themselves have only increased 2.4%. What's important to the taxpayer, though, is the dollar change.
Can I just pause you right there, Ms. McDonald? Sorry. So without the education increase, the average property owner would see a $1 increase per month, correct? If we didn't have the education increase of 9%.
Thank you, Mayor, for the question. If the 9% was not there, they would end up paying less taxes. Their taxes would decrease.
Okay. Important to note. Thank you.
The next category is our non-residential properties. So this includes commercial, industrial, designated properties, machinery and equipment. And so when we look at 2025, we had 20.1709 as our mill rate for non-residential. And when we look at 2026, it is 20.6469. Again, that's a 2.4% increase in the mill rate. What does that mean for each property? A property that's assessed at $500,000 would see a $10 increase per month. A $1.5 million assessment in commercial non-residential property would see a $30 per month increase, and a $2 million assessment would see a 40.15 increase per month. With that, before I go to the recommendations, our next steps would be that should council pass this bylaw, we would then work on testing our tax notices. Those tax notices would be intended to be mailed May 15th, noting that they are due upon issue, and our first penalty date is consistently being held at July 15th. With that, I ask council to consider the recommendations before you.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald, for your presentation. Council will open the floor to questions before we take a motion from the floor. Do we have any questions from council this evening? Go ahead, Councillor Holden.
Through the mayor to Ms. McDonald, it's nice to see that it's a slight increase there. Unfortunately, it's the provincial education tax that's driving an upward trend in that. I read the numbers, and Mayor Zahara had mentioned earlier that without that, we would have had a slight decrease in residentials. And from what I'm reading in this report, or read in this report, we'd also have the same in the non-residentials, because the requirement from the municipality and the Evergreen Foundation would be a decrease. So the slight drive upwards is particularly from the education tax that we just collect on behalf of the province. For clarity, I just wanted to make sure that that was out in the world. Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor Holden, thank you for the question. I think I'll just go back to that slide and you can see the mill rate change. I didn't walk you through that, but the municipal rate actually decreased 0.1%, and the education portion increased 13.6%. And Evergreen's foundation is 0.9% decrease. So yes, it would be considerably less without that education requisition. And noting that in 2025, it also went up considerable amount of money.
Thank you. Council, any further questions, comments, or concerns? Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to council. You should also note that if this is based on your assessment not changing. So if your assessment goes up, your taxes would go up in relevant, but the mill rate has remaining the same as a huge positive on our end, for sure. Just remember, if your assessment goes up, your taxes will still go up, even if the mill rate doesn't change.
Thank you. Thank you for this. I guess a question. So obviously Alberta municipalities and municipalities across this province have been pushing the message of the provincial requisition going up. In fact, at Alberta Munis, the ministers encouraged it. They said, yep, we're the ones to blame, so feel free to blame us, and explain why it's supporting education from their perspective. So I guess from a municipal point of view, how are we communicating that to, I know we do have social media posts. Are we going to have anything within the tax notices, a card or something that outlines those differences?
Thank you for the question, Mayor. We do have advertising planned for communicating the message to our customers. There is an insert that will be in the tax notice. Our tax notice, also to mention, is our tax notice is broken down into areas where you will see the municipal portion, the education portion, Evergreens Foundation, as well as if you are a non-residential, you would have that dip on the bottom. Our comms team is ready to roll out a number of communications with regard to helping the customer understand what's going to happen as a result of passing this bylaw.
All right, thank you very much. And I just want to say hats off to the entire organization. We've done a lot of work in order to find efficiencies and even, increase levels of service. We've done that without increasing our mill rate, or very, very slight change there, which is very impressive. I think this is the first time in a long time where I haven't seen our mill rate increase. So that goes to the hard work of administration. So thank you for that. Council, I'll take a motion, please, from the floor. Go ahead, Councillor Fogarty.
I move that council approve the revised 2026 operating budget with total operating revenues of $28,309,493 and total operating expenditures of $43,317,751, excluding amortization of $5,660,540, with capital reserves of $70 million.
Revenues. You said reserves.
With capital reserves.
Revenues.
Revenues, thank you. Do I have to start again?
No.
With capital revenues, good, of $70,593,944, and capital expenses of $70,593,944, resulting in a municipal taxation levy requirement of $15,008,258.
Excellent job, Councillor Fogarty. Yeah. Can you repeat that in French, please? Council, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Who would like to make the second motion? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I move that council give first reading to bylaw number 2334.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. The next motion, please. We will go to Councillor Wilson-Lear.
I move that council give second reading to bylaw number 2334.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Can I get placement of third, please? Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
I move that bylaw number 2334 be placed for third reading.
Thank you. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously, and now we can have third reading. Who would like to make that motion? Go ahead, Councillor Schramm.
I move that council give third reading to bylaw number 2334.
Thank you, Councillor Schramm. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Now you restart that process all over again. We are going to move on to business items. We are joined by our Economic Development Officer, Crystal Chachka. Welcome. I didn't screw it up this time. I'll get you to turn on your microphone there, Ms. Chachka. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's a pleasure to be here this evening to present a proclamation on Alberta Rural Health Week, which is May 25th to 29 of this year. So some background first. Alberta Rural Health Week is an event that celebrates and recognizes the people, communities, and initiatives that support and strengthen rural healthcare in Alberta. It is held annually during the last week of May. The town of Edson has previously proclaimed Alberta Rural Health Week to recognize the diverse group of healthcare professionals that support our community. The healthcare workers improve the quality of life in rural areas with their skills, practices, and personal contributions to the community. They often take on the role of teaching and mentoring future healthcare providers in their communities. In accordance with the town policy, events need to be planned during the timeframe of a proclamation to bring forward to council. An event that has been ongoing for the past several years is the Appreciation Barbecue. The Community Care Foundation of Edson and District will be hosting a barbecue at the Edson Healthcare Center courtyard to show appreciation towards our healthcare professionals and first responders. The event will take place on Wednesday, May 27th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., lunchtime. All healthcare professionals and first responders in the community are invited, whether they work at that location or not, and are encouraged to attend. This is the 4th year the foundation has been organizing this barbecue. And the photos on the slide are provided by the foundation from the barbecue they held last year. Another event happening around the Alberta Rural Healthcare Week is from the Attraction and Retention Committee of Healthcare Professionals. Starting in March of this year, the committee began accepting nominations from community members that wanted to give a positive shout out to local healthcare professional whose efforts have been noticed and they wanted to recognize those efforts. Any healthcare provider can be nominated from various job roles. The Attraction and Retention Committee will choose 5 winners from a broad selection of healthcare providers for the 2026 award winners. The awards will be distributed around the Alberta Rural Health Week timeframe. The photos in the slide are from last year's Healthcare Hero winners, which are Marilyn Owishi, Mike Tomiak, Belinda Caquette, Dr. Gauss, and Renee Cooker. The recommendation, based on the events happening locally during Alberta Rural Health Week, is that administration recommends that council proclaim the week of May 25th to 29th of 2026 as Alberta Rural Health Week in the town of Edson. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chachka. Council, do you have any questions for our presenter this evening? I'll just make a comment. So for the Healthcare Hero Awards, because we do not have a council meeting that week, we are looking at the week ahead of that to present those awards. So I believe that is on the 19th, pending us having the awards in time to present. So that's a process, and I will let administration know once we have that finalized. So with that, I'll take a motion from the floor. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Well, before that, I was just going to make a quick comment, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say that Mayor Zahara and I did meet last night along with members of the Art Committee to go through the Healthcare Hero Award nominations. And I can't remember how many nominations we had. It was a lot. And that just goes to show that we have a tremendous amount of amazing healthcare professionals in our community. I'm pretty sure we're going to have to run this for the next 100 years to make sure everyone gets recognized, because it was a very difficult decision last night, and look forward to announcing the recipients in a few weeks' time. But with that, I can make a motion. I move that council proclaim the week of May 25th, 29th, 2026 as Alberta Rural Health Week in the town of Edson.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor, that motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Chachka. We're going to move on to National Public Works Week 2026. We're going to welcome Ms. Cross, our Infrastructure and Public Works Senior Manager. Welcome, Ms. Cross.
So good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I'm presenting information on National Public Works Week and seeking council support to formally recognize the contributions of the public works staff in the town of Edson. National Public Works Week has been recognized across North America since 1960. It highlights the essential public roles public works play in residents' everyday lives. Public Works supports core municipal services, including roads, water, wastewater, and facilities. Their work also extends to emergency response, community safety, and long-term infrastructure resilience. This week is an opportunity to recognize professionals who keep services running in year-round behind the scenes. While much of the work that what Public Works does happens behind the scenes, our intended day helps recognize our intended day of recognition helps put a face to the essential services residents rely on daily. It also is about saying thank you to our staff for the work they do, often in difficult conditions and outside regular hours. This year's theme is Rooted in Service, Powered by Our Community. Really reflects the way Public Works and operates in the town of Edson. Our staffs are rooted in service. Many of them live here, raise their families here, and take pride in keeping the community running. The work they do is powered by community in a sense that it directly supports residents, local business, and public spaces every day. It also speaks to the teamwork, not just within Public Works, but across the town departments within the community itself. Whether work is highly visible or completely behind the scenes, it all contributes to the quality of life for the people in our community. To recognize Public Works Department, administration will host a Public Works Day on May 22nd as part of our National Public Works Week. This will happen from 10 to 3 p.m. at the Public Works Yard. The event will focus on community engagement and public education. Activities will include equipment displays and demonstrations, as well as a barbecue for residents that will happen between 11 to 2 p.m. Interactive age group activities will highlight municipal infrastructures, water conservation, and responsible utility use. So administration is requesting that council proclaim May 17th to 23rd, 2026 as National Public Works Week in the town of Edson. If anyone has any questions.
Thank you. Council, any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I will call the question, or call for the motion, please. Go ahead, Councillor Schramm.
I move that council proclaim the week of May 17th to the 23rd, 2026 as National Public Works Week in the town of Edson.
Thank you. With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. And Ms. Cross again with construction specifications and design guidelines. Go ahead.
Okay, good evening once again, Mayor and Council. Administration is pleased to present the final version of the construction specification and design guidelines for the town of Edson. Consistent technical standards provide a clear framework for design and construction, establishing expectations that support infrastructure quality and long-term performance. From an administrative perspective, the guidelines help streamline internal review and approval processes, reducing construction delays and limiting the potential of unplanned costs during construction season. Historically, administration has relied on external servicing standards, particularly those developed by the City of Edmonton, as a baseline for infrastructure design. While these standards provide general technical guidance, they do not fully reflect Edson's unique geographic conditions or our infrastructure challenges. This reliance highlighted the need for Edson-specific standards tailored to meet our local conditions, operational practice, and long-term asset management objectives. The design guidelines were developed in collaboration with WSP Engineering and underwent extensive drafting and internal review with input from several departments, such as transportation, parks, utilities, and planning. Findings and recommendations from previous engineer studies and infrastructure assessments have also been integrated within the document. In addition to industry best practices, an evidence-based approach was an important aspect of developing these guidelines. This approach formalizes construction practices that engineers and contractors have proven to be successful for Edson's unique soil conditions and high water table. Collectively, the construction specification and design guidelines will strengthen project outcomes by providing well-defined and standards technical direction. These guidelines will improve infrastructure quality, reduce long-term maintenance costs, and lower the risk of premature failure. The document presented for information represents the finalized construction specification and design guidelines for the town at this time. Upon implementation, it will serve as a standard reference for engineers and contractors developing municipal infrastructure projects or upgrading what's existingly there. While not intended for ongoing amendment, administration will review and update the document as needed to reflect changes in best practice, regulations, technology, and town priorities. And thank you for your attention. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Council, any questions, comments, or concerns with the design guidelines? Councillor Holden.
Through the mayor to Ms. Cross, thank you for the report. It was a good few hours of reading. I'm really liking the point that we're getting to a made in Edson guideline and specification. It's quite welcome. We've seen in the past that the results of building in our unique location and land composition hasn't gone as well as we had hoped, just our geographic area and stuff. I just wondered, I tried to read through and see if there was it may or may not be included in the document, but what assurance can the taxpayers have that moving forward, any deficiencies or failure to complete projects properly will fall on the contractors and not on them? Thank you.
Through the mayor to Councillor Holden. It's standard that when we do a project within the town, we have a 2-year warranty period for any work or deficiencies, and that will go back to the contractors, have to pay for that. They take care of any costs.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I'll take a motion from the floor, please. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I move the council accept the construction specification and design guidelines as set out in attachment 1 for information.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Cross. Moving on to the most exciting portion of the night. Sorry, everyone. This is exciting. This council's strategic plan, and I'll hand things over to CAO Beveridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree. This is a very pivotal time for this council, and we're very pleased to be able to provide this this evening. So, I'm here to present the final draft of the strategic plan for 2026 to 2030. This plan was previously presented at the Committee of the Whole meeting in detail. This plan reflects Council's direction, values, and long-term vision for the town of Edson. This plan is intentionally high-level. This plan should remain relevant for the full council term. Administration does schedule intentional, regular check-ins, annual check-ins to ensure that's the case. What you'll see today reflects Council's language, Council's priorities, and the themes that have emerged clearly through discussions with the support of civic excellence during the facilitated workshop. When I first presented the plan previously, we had the draft plan, and since then, I'm pleased to present the Edson's own strategic plan. And you'll note the pictures are all of Edson as I go through, but essentially, we felt that this really felt to match what Edson was all about and actually matched what the plan actually represented. So the draft strategic plan was reviewed April 14th, as mentioned, at the Committee of the Whole meeting. The committee provided feedback, and we've incorporated that feedback. There's 2 items. One, including welcoming to the connected community strategic priority, and the second, including Indigenous to the community and regional in relationships focus area under the effective leadership and governance strategic priority. The attached version of the strategic plan includes both of those revisions. The strategic plan is structured around 4 strategic priorities: welcoming connected community, strengthening community resilience, effective leadership and governance, and finally, fostering a robust and adaptable economy. So council sets the strategic plan, and once approved, administration is responsible for developing and implementing the actions. Next steps for administration is a review of the ongoing projects that were previously committed to, and that's a very important step. Noting that the plan didn't provide for a complete reset. The plan included some core pieces that we'll definitely have to bring back as future initiatives for this council to consider. Anything new, as mentioned, will come back for appropriate review. In our regular reporting to council on the strategic plan, an overview of the operational tactics will be shared and highlighting of the status of items. That typically is done on a quarterly basis, but given the timing right now of approving the plan, it will likely be the fall, September, by the time we bring back any status update on the plan. In addition, council receives weekly and operational as well as project updates on the ongoing projects. And as well, council also receives the quarterly accomplishments as well that does highlight a lot of the work that is continuing. With that, that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, thank you, Ms. Beveridge, for your presentation. Council, open the floor to questions on your strategic plan. Councillor Taylor.
No questions, Mr. Mayor, through the mayor. Just a comment, and I really like this plan that's been constructed by this council. It's different than the last plan, and CO Beveridge, you say it's high level. The previous plan, it got a little, I would say, a little more into the weeds of things, right? This plan allows administration a lot more flexibility to achieve our priorities, which I really appreciate, right? Instead of sort of detailing right off the hop how they're going to achieve things, they can navigate how things come up, different, whether it be grant opportunities or different projects as they approach, to navigate how they want to achieve our priorities. So I'm happy to see that. And my only last comment is now to council, is that now we've set this plan, it's all about putting our money where our mouth is now. If these are our priorities, then we have to ensure that we're going to back these priorities come budget time and look at these priorities. So we've spoken about, I know, economic development. Councillor Wilson Lear has an upcoming motion that I think is also tied into that. So it's time to get serious about these priorities and move forward. So thank you for administration's work creating this, and look forward to seeing how we progress.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any other further comments or questions, concerns about the strategic plan? I'll just comment. I think this plan is very well done. The thing that I think I appreciate the most, when we went into the strategic planning session, we have 4 new members of council. So you don't know what that strategic plan is going to look like. And what was clear during that session was building off of the foundation that was built on the previous strategic plans. So I really appreciate that. We're not resetting. We are going to continue on that path while looking at some priority areas that I think are the only way we're able to do that is because of that work that was done in previous years. So I'm really looking forward to the next 4 years. Council and administration has our work cut out for us, competing priorities, financial implications, and all that kind of fun stuff, and our long list of infrastructure projects. So with that, I'd be happy to take a motion on the floor to accept the 2026 to 2030 strategic plan as presented. Please go ahead, Councillor Wilson Lear.
I move that council accept the 2026 to 2030 strategic plan as presented.
Thank you. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Before we go to the motion or the next item, we're going to have things over to Ms. Williams to discuss an error in one of our previous meetings. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As mentioned, so at the April 21st regular council meeting, a procedural error occurred when council voted on a notice of motion without first dispensing the requirement to provide notice. To correct this, it is administration's recommendation that council rescind the April 21st resolution number 88, 2026. Council then may proceed properly to consider the motion in accordance with meeting procedures bylaw 22A1.
As chair, I take full responsibility for that procedural error. That was totally on me. If we can get the motion up on the screen, please, an actual motion that we should do. Deputy Mayor Fogarty would be more than happy to make that motion.
I move that council rescind resolution number 88-2026.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor, that motion is carried. And now we'll hand things over to Councillor Corey Wilson-Lear. Go ahead.
I move that Council direct administration to bring forward a report outlining options, costs, and timelines for a mill and overlay program before the 2027 budget process. Go ahead. At the April 14th, 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting, Council received information regarding the town's approach to road maintenance and long-term roadway investment planning, with a clear focus on advancing a data-driven road maintenance program supported by asset management principles and updated condition assessments. Over the past several years, the town has invested in maintenance equipment and activities such as crack sealing, pothole repair, and asphalt patching. These efforts not only extend the life of existing infrastructure, but also generate valuable operational data, which provides insight into unit costs, productivity, material requirements, and staffing. This forms critical foundation for a more structured and sustainable maintenance program. With the most recent road condition assessment completed in 2020, updated data will play a vital role in refining priorities and aligning roadway investments with both surface and underground infrastructure needs. While current efforts are still focused on targeted repairs, and rehabilitation, it is important that Council also consider longer-term life cycle strategies to ensure the most effective use of taxpayer dollars. For this reason, it is prudent that a potential mill and overlay program be developed in parallel with the road maintenance program. Advancing this work concurrently will ensure that all practical roadway strategies are evaluated together and integrated within the town's asset management framework, rather than considered in isolation at a later stage. This would serve as a fiscally responsible plan, not a reactionary one. Providing direction to bring forward a report outlining options, associated costs, and implementation timelines for a mill and overlay program will position Council to make informed, timely decisions and ensure a coordinated, strategic approach to roadway investment. And if I could just add, I wanted to make one note that during budget engagement, there was focus group surveys and sessions, and that work was completed by Catalyst Communications. In August of 2025, the consultant actually presented at a meeting. I wasn't on council yet, but something really struck me from his presentation. That was Mr. Benjamin Prue, and he added at the end of his presentation of the budget engagement findings that there was a surprising level of input from residents appealing to investment in infrastructure maintenance, sustainability, and improvements, which is not as common to see. We often find that residents are not looking specifically at infrastructure and infrastructure needs compared to service delivery and program delivery, so that was a bit unique to see in our process with Edson. And that has really stood out to me through the entire budget process that we just went through it as a new councillor, and so I just wanted to mention that. I also suspect through this year's budget engagement, we are going to see the same results with infrastructure being at the top of citizen engagement priorities again. And as Councillor Taylor had just said, it's time to get serious, and there is a sense of urgency focusing on those matters. So, thank you.
Thank you, Wilson-Lear, for bringing that forward. Council, we'll open the floor to any questions or comments. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor, first to Councillor Wilson-Lear, thank you for bringing this forward. I think this is a great discussion to have. And of course, the motion right now is just talking about budget implications and what that program could look like. So I do have a couple of questions. My first question is to administration regarding the, I guess, proposed maintenance policy that was kind of brought forward a few weeks ago. The mill and overlay program that Councillor Wilson-Lear is proposing is not yet within that program. Am I correct? And if not, could it be if that's the road we want to go down.
Nice choice of words there, Councillor Taylor. Go ahead, GM Kitlitz.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. So I think it should be different. I think there should be two separate programs. To me, the road maintenance program is your day-to-day activities that you do to keep the roads maintained, whereas a mill and overlay program is a bit more comprehensive and is used to. I think they're different. Bottom line, I think they should be two different programs.
Okay.
That'd be my recommendation.
Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
And then a follow-up to that question, GM Kitlitz, is that the mill and overlay program is more, would that be more into the capital world now, that we're now looking at tendering, we're now beyond just in-house maintenance, correct?
Absolutely, that'd be correct. Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Council, any further questions, comments?
Yeah, through the chair, basically to all the council and to administration. When I first seen this report, I thought it was well thought out. And again, we can't forget that the underground is a critical part of our infrastructure, in any area that requires it underground has to be done first before we do anything on the top road. But in saying that, there are many areas within our community that the underground is in very good shape and probably not slated for repair for a very long time. However, the road surfaces are starting to deteriorate. And a mill and overlay program would definitely extend the life of those surfaces greatly. So that's why I think this is a program that is well worth looking into. And again, we're asking, administration just to bring back what it would look like in the plan, and I think that has a lot of value.
Thank you. Councillor Schramm, any other further questions or comments? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor, I echo Councillor Schramm's comment. I think this is something we should be looking into. This is, again, would align brilliantly with our just approved strategic plan. Again, right now we're just gathering information as to what it could look like, the budget implications, and where we can go from there. So thank you, Councillor Whistler, for bringing this forward. And I think it can align well, again, not within the maintenance plan, but it's another strategy to address some of the road services issues that we have.
Thank you much, Councillor Taylor. Just my comments, a mill and overlay program was one of my priorities for this term, so I'm definitely in support of the motion that's on the floor. And I think what Councillor Schramm mentioned, I think is really important. And I look at First Avenue, for example. We've had issues on First Avenue for well over a decade, probably 20 years, and we never have the money to do the underground. Well, now we have a road service that is embarrassing and is not even passable. And it should not be accepted by this community and should not be accepted by council or this administration. So if we do not have the funding to do that underground infrastructure work, then we have to look at, when pothole repair is no longer satisfactory, we have to look at a mill and overlay program, period. Yes, we may have to cut into it 5 years. Well, that is just what's going to happen, but we can't ignore the road surfaces and the driving conditions in our community because, well, someday, some 30 years from now, we're going to have to do that underground infrastructure work. It's not acceptable. The typical, I think, I'm not an engineer, but the research I've done, typically pavement lasts 20 to 30 years. Most of our pavement in our community is 20 to 30 years, and that is with proper maintenance, without the frost and the cold and all the other challenges that we have with the underground soil conditions that we have in this community. So we also are challenged by what we can afford. So I think those are all things that council has to consider. But mill and overlay is a lot cheaper than spending millions of underground infrastructure work. And I think we have lots of data to tell us what our condition of our pipes under the ground are. I mentioned when we talked about the maintenance program, the entrance to Glenwood's a perfect example. 48th Street, I lived on 48th Street 10 years ago. That road was rough back then, looking from 10th to 6th Avenue. And then the humps and the heaves that Councillor Taylor talks about, we fixed some of those. And I think, Ms. Cross presented some good information, like how much do those cost? Well, it depends. Well, I know where those are. So let's get the numbers. Let's figure those things out, particularly on the east end. I'm going to take CO Beveridge and Mr. Kitlitz for a drive because I almost launched myself through somebody's yard yesterday because of one of the, slow down. Just because of some of those fluctuations. And I think, to Councilor Lear's point about the comments made in the budget report, a lot of that has to do with the highway conditions as well. I look forward to this. I know it's going to be some work for administration, but I think as a council, we need to get serious. And I think our taxpayers need to realize it's going to cost some money to do some of this work. We can't continue to pull money out of reserves, so there is going to be some financial implications to that. But doing the same thing over and over again is not, I don't think, is acceptable. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? Motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Council committee reports. Is there anything people want to highlight in the reports or any questions in the reports that have been submitted? Seeing none, I'll take a motion from the floor, please. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I move the council accept the May 5th, 2026 council committee reports as set out in attachments number 1 to number 7 for information.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. We have no information items, no notice of motion. Can I get a motion, please, to go into closed session as noted on the screen, please? Go ahead, Councillor Fogarty.
I move the council move into closed session pursuant to Section 26 of the Access to Information Act.
Thank you. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. All right, thanks, everyone. We have no business arising from the closed session, so I will adjourn this meeting at 9:41. Thanks, everyone.